Welcome to the program, everybody. It's Josh Navarrete, your host of the Political Pulpit. Tonight on the late night broadcast, we are going to discuss CENTCOM is pounding Iran as we speak. And there's going to be a lot of updates in the morning that we want to get to you for tonight before it happens, because apparently it's a big deal and we're going strong against Iran. And then, of course, did you hear that in Texas, there's a new religious battle and it's happening? Not just in Texas, but probably your own neighborhood. There was a field trip from a high school to a mosque. So let's talk about that and a whole lot more when we come right back.
We pray for love and unity, and that the church would find new zeal and commitment to the mission and purpose of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
You're a liar! You're a liar!
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart.
We are back. It's a late one tonight, and you're probably doom scrolling, but before you scroll anymore, stop right there, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I know you caught us either on Facebook. That's an easy share. If you caught us on YouTube, you got to do a little bit more work. Hit that notification bell so you're notified every time we go live or upload new content. Welcome back, everybody. It is the Political Pulpit. I'm your host, Josh Navarrete. And I'm sure you heard, I'm sure you've seen, but we're going to give it to you raw, unfiltered, exactly how it comes in. But I want to show you, before we go a little further, on what it's like to take in the news without a bias. I know it sounds like we lean a certain way, but we don't just lean one way. We stand on the Word of God. We give you the news, but we talk about it from a biblical perspective. That's who we are. That's what we do. So if you stopped in, thank you for joining us. And you're probably tucked away in bed and you're getting the last bit of news before you go to sleep. Why don't you hit that like button, share it, let us know where you're watching from, and let us know what you think in the comments. All right, let's get to it. I know it's late. We want to give you what we have. Let's cue up that first clip. We have what we call tension. It remains high in the Middle East, and it's with no diplomatic breakthrough in sight. Iran insists the Strait of Hormuz will remain blocked until its conditions are met, while President Trump says the U.S. has total control of the critical way. I want to know what you guys think, because you hear it from us, from the United States, that Iran is completely decimated and under our control, especially the Strait of Hormuz. But then you got Iran that says otherwise, and this keeps dragging out. I mean, how many times are we going to hear that this is going to be over, it's going to be open, gas prices are going to drop? Now, I'm not trying to be critical of the president in the United States, as I am just trying to keep an open dialogue and an open mind, because something's up, something's going on. Let's see what this clip has to say. Roll it.
With no diplomatic breakthrough, tension remains high across the Middle East. There are still major questions about the Strait of Hormuz and if a deal can be reached to open this critical waterway. We do know the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, an Iranian government agency, said Wednesday claims and repeated posts by U.S. officials that the Strait of Hormuz is no longer blocked do not change the reality. The Strait of Hormuz remains blocked and will not be reopened until Iran's conditions are accepted. This came after President Trump posted yesterday on Truth Social, saying in part, the USA has total control over the Strait of Hormuz. Our naval blockade is being called by everyone a wall of steel, and there is nothing Iran can do about it. Still less than 10% of the average number of pre-war vessels are passing through the strait, as some analysts warn of possible escalation before a solution is found.
You see the midterms coming. My gut feel is that they're likely going to get more aggressive, because they don't believe the president will do much prior to the midterms in terms of military reaction.
I mean, he's already said he's low-keying it. He said that in an interview.
But here's the fact is, they have miscalculated with him time and time again. We have more capability in the region now than we had on February 28th, and it all is ready.
The focus on Iran comes as we're also tracking developments between Israel and Lebanon. Talks are set to resume in September in Rome, aimed at normalizing ties between the two countries and disarming Hezbollah. Still, details have to be worked out about the proposed security zones.
Under no circumstances do we retreat, not in Lebanon, not in Syria, not in Gaza, from the security zones. The lesson of October 7th is that we protect the residents by having the IDF present in these places and defending them.
Israel is still carrying out limited strikes in both Lebanon and Gaza. On Wednesday, a senior Hamas commander was killed in one of those strikes.
They're not going to retreat one bit. We know that's for sure. The United States is not going to retreat and not going to lose their ally with Israel. But I think the important conversation is how much longer are we going to go? I think it's important that everybody knows we are facing the midterms, and this has everything to do with that. It is almost like they're slow walking this, and then as we get closer to the midterms, something's going to happen. I predict, and I'm predicting, we've been talking about this, that from this point to the midterms till November, we're going to see a big shakeup. There's a lot that's going to happen because, one, the Democrats definitely want to win the House and the Senate, and two, the Republicans don't want to lose control. So they're going to, they're playing chess, and we hope they're playing the right way. But that's just how this goes. There's elections that are coming, and you kind of make things happen at the right time. So we'll see what that means for the war. We'll see what that means for even in your neighborhoods. We're going to uncover a lot of that stuff that's going on. But let's keep our fingers on the pulse here to know what's going to happen next, because it looks like this isn't going to end anytime soon. We're at least going to get through the midterms when it comes to Iran. All right, next. Iran has reportedly hit a hotel in Erbil, northern Iraq, which houses U.S. military personnel. We are pending U.S. confirmation in a statement from the IRGC. This is the first military operation of the newly structured IRGC. So we're, seeing something a little bit different this time. Now they're hitting, it looks like a hotel, a new structure. I'm telling you guys, it's going to get closer and closer to residents and to where people live and stay, because that's usually what happens. There's something that's, we got this kind of mini battle and struggle that's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. But the truth is this is why I like the information that comes in so quick. You can literally see who's passing through the strait. And according to reports and satellite images, only 10% of ships are now passing through. I would like to say that's because the United States is policing the strait. All right, next. The U.S. Navy is sending a fresh aircraft carrier to the Middle East amid the ongoing Iran conflict. Reports say the USS George Washington will relieve the USS Abraham Lincoln, which has been deployed in the Middle East since January and has played a key role in Operation Epic Fury. The blockade of Iranian ports. Watch OAN. All right, go ahead and play that.
This as the U.S. is sending a fresh aircraft carrier to the Middle East amid the Iran conflict. Reports say the USS George Washington will relieve the Abraham Lincoln, which has been in the Middle East since January. The Lincoln played a big role in Operation Epic Fury and the blockade on Iranian ports. Navy officials say the switch is part of a scheduled rotation. The Washington is in the South China Sea and could take a week to get to the Middle East. Officials have not released a date for the Lincoln's return to its home port in San Diego. This has the U.S.
That just tells you everything you need to know. This isn't going away. They're sending out fresh vehicles, probably with fresh arsenals of missiles and drones and fighter jets. They're re-upping. They're not backing down, and they're not going to back down. That's for sure. The president's not going to just kind of like low-key it the whole time. You just know that things will ramp up in the next few weeks to months, and it just makes you wonder, how close are we to a potential World War III with this? Who knows? All right, next. So now the U.S. is powerfully bombing Iran. That's what we said earlier by CENTCOM. Trump says we're going to beat the you-know-what out of them. That's coming from number 47, guys. Now, as Christians, we are definitely praying for the president. We don't expect him to be exactly the saint that everybody gets all upset about because of the way he talks and the way he speaks. But the point is, he's telling you, we're going to unleash on these guys. Roll it.
Fox News alert moments ago, Donald Trump just unleashed a new round of airstrikes against Iran. It sounds like part of a more intensive air campaign pitched to him by CENTCOM Commander Cooper. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. Cooper's plan goes beyond the tit-for-tat airstrikes the past couple of weeks and is designed to deliver a body blow to Iran's missile capabilities. This is the go big option. Trump apparently is in an escalatory mood, telling Fox this morning, quote, "We're going to beat the effing out of them." And now, bombs away.
That's happening right now as we speak. They are being bombed probably like crazy, and it's going to be a massive. And notice how this stuff happens towards the weekend. You know, it kind of happens on Friday morning for us. This is happening right now in that area, or at least within the last few hours. What are we going to hear back? You're going to hear all kinds of stories, and it depends on where you listen to, but we're going to bring it to you as it happens, and we're going to tell you what we think. Because, first of all, nobody likes war, but second of all, this has to be dealt with because they are the terrorists of the world, and they need to be dealt with accordingly. All right, next. So it says, Iran planned to use shoulder-to-air missile to destroy Air Force One in an assassination attempt on President Trump in Turkey last month. The Secret Service and U.S. military then moved him to a secret military jet to fly him to the UK. They're literally waiting and willing to take out the president if they possibly, they can't do it. There's no way. I mean, I guess there's a way, but we have too much power, too much authority, too much intel. The United States is very sophisticated in everything militarily, and it's going to be a very difficult feat. Although you have some, the border's been open a few years ago, so you never know about these cells that are in here, these sleeper cells. We also got to be careful with that. All right, roll it.
Welcome back. President Trump says the U.S. has total control over the Strait of Hormuz.
It comes as new details emerge over the reported Iranian threat on the president's life while he was at the NATO summit in Turkey. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst joins us live in Tel Aviv with those details. Hi, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. It's a story that has captured the world attention this week, a threat against President Trump's life in Turkey last month. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that it was Israeli intelligence that tipped off the administration about this specific danger. The report explains the sourcing on this information, saying the U.S. official said Israel briefed the Trump administration on the intelligence, which included a threat to use shoulder-to-air missiles to target Air Force One. Now, ultimately, the president was moved from Air Force One to another plane using a catering truck, according to initial reports. The story comes as indirect negotiations continue with Iran aimed at opening the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump explained overnight that he doesn't trust the Iranian regime.
I'm the last person to trust Iran. They've lied to me constantly. We have total control over the Hormuz Strait right now. They don't have control. We have total control. We own it. Right now, we're in a very good position. We have a country that has been the bully of the Middle East for 50 years, and they're no longer the bully of the Middle East.
They're no longer the bully of the Middle East because the new president is in town. And if they're willing to shoot missiles at the U.S. President Donald Trump, you better believe he got home and has a plan to decimate more of their military personnel and equipment and capabilities. And that's what CENTCOM is reporting on. They're about to receive a whooping this weekend, and that's what's happening. You already know President Trump is not happy about that. Having to get on a catering truck and getting on a lesser plane is not ideal for him. And you know he's upset about it and is probably saying, give them what they deserve. Next. Holy crap. Fox News, Jennifer Griffin. Israel and the U.S. military have effectively suppressed the air defense system, or IADS, over Tehran. The U.S. military carried out 900 strikes in 12 hours. That might be a record. The Israelis carried out 1,200 strikes in the past 24 hours, more than during the entire 12-day war last summer. Told you he wasn't happy. Roll it.
Israeli defense minister announced that Israel is now using stand-in weapons over Tehran and will now have a 24 7 presence in the skies above Tehran. That means that they and the U.S. military have effectively suppressed the air defense systems, or IADs, over Tehran, a huge step forward in terms of being able to track the movements of Iranian leaders and forces. In terms of the U.S. operation yesterday, the U.S. military carried out 900 strikes in 12 hours. That might be a record. The Israelis carried out 1,200 strikes in the past 24 hours, more than during the entire 12-day war last summer. In fact, the Israeli Air Force just took out 2 Iranian fighter jets that were on the tarmac preparing to take off from Tabriz in western Iran. Israeli defense.
So how's that for a low stockpile? I knew that wasn't the case, and that's only fake news. And as a matter of fact, they are manufacturing plenty of weapons just for this moment, and the president isn't messing around. He said it right. He doesn't trust them. They do nothing but lie, and they need to be dealt with. All right, next. Justin Netanyahu is mocking Britain by calling it the Islamic Republic of Britain. The UK provided him with major military support in the genocide in Gaza and the war with Iran. Well, this is, he's saying it's a genocide in Gaza, but, you know, I guess that's up for debate. Roll it.
אגב, הוא ואבא שלו, רנדולף, הבן של צ'רצ'יל, באו וכיסו כאן את מלחמת ששת הימים בצורה מאוד חיובית לנו. לך תמצא את זה בבריטניה עכשיו. מה שנקרא ברפובליקה האסלאמית של בריטניה, לך תמצא את זה.
לא אירופאית, כל אירופה כבר נהייתה כזאת, לא זה כאילו...
כן, אבל מישהו אמר, שאתה יודע, הרפובליקה האסלאמית הראשונה עם נשק גרעיני תהיה הרפובליקה האסלאמית של בריטניה, בסדר, אוקיי. אז אנחנו דואגים שלא תהיה פה עוד אחת, אתה יודע, באיראן.
So basically what you're seeing there, I don't know if you could read the text at the bottom, he's calling Britain the Islamic Republic of Britain because of the infiltration of immigrants and the Islamic movement in their country. And nothing's being done about it. As a matter of fact, you're being persecuted if you oppose any of it. And that's a problem because that's considered phase 2 of that movement. We talked about that the other day. The United States is in phase 1 where they use things like racism and Islamophobia, and they start using taqiyya to integrate, to make it seem like they are peaceful. There's a terroristic group ideology that is moving into a neighborhood near you. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Before we do, I want to remind you to go to www.politicalpulpit.com to get all your news the way it comes. You're going to see some articles from myself and from others that are writing based on what's happening according to biblical principles and what's in the Bible. What does the Bible say about the times that we live in? Potentially the end times, the end of age. What are we seeing and what does it mean? And of course, you can become a partner. We could not do this without our partners. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you for joining us, jumping in, and partnering with us to make this happen. We like to film here in our private studio, and then we got the big screen, which we hope to get back to, where our program can stream a little bit earlier, and then we can come back and catch the news for the nighttime night owl broadcast. All right, next. Utterly insane. Caught inside Minneapolis polling booths, Minnesota poll workers tell O'Keefe, dressed in Muslim garb, in a burqa, that they can vouch for 8 unregistered voters without an ID, allowing them to vote in Minnesota's primary election. This was the plan the whole time. Here it is. Take a look.
If I vouch for them, also I can vouch for them. This name is registered, but they are not registered. That's okay. That's fine. Can I bring 5 more? From up to 8 people. So I go get the rest of them and come and they can vote today.
Yeah.
I can just vouch for them that they are registered. Yes.
Yeah. So
Okay, that's a good thing. We go back and we get Krishna and Ernesto and Mohammed, and we bring them here. We go get the other people and we come back.
Since you're already registered, you can vouch for up to 8 people.
I did not know this. I thought they can only vote one at a time.
Well, you each only get one vote, but you can vouch for up to 8.
That is great. I'll go do that. We go pick up the rest of the people. We come and then all 8 I'll vouch for them.
No.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll see you. Thank you. We go get Muhammad. We come back. Okay. Success. We go in. I say the name is William Pomerantz, and they tell me that I can vouch for up to 8 people. I say we go back. We get Ramesh. We get Muhammad. We get Rishnu. We come back. We vote. They say no problem. We can vouch for up to 8 people. And we're going to go get the voters and come back, and then we shall vote. No ID needed. They're not registered. No problem, they say. I said, not registered. They said, no problem. You can vote if you're not registered. So that worked. Let's try it again.
Let's do it again.
No ID.
Wow.
They do not have ID. It's a problem. Can they sign something?
And you don't have ID either. That's the biggest scam, I think, is that you can, as long as you know their name and their address, you can show up and vote in their name, no verification required.
But it looks like we may have a problem.
You want me to ask? Should I get up now?
What we could do is just reposition.
He's gonna go alert somebody.
Does he work there?
And the white shirt told him about us.
I can't have her
You
see me.
That? Get down.
Oh, yeah, they're recording.
Get down, get down, get down, get down, get down.
She's watching radio with somebody.
Probably think we're ICE.
There's a piece of paper here. Additional ways to register. Vouching by registered voter who can confirm your address. A voter can vouch for you. The voucher must live in your precinct, personally know you. I can vouch for up to 8 people. No problem. We're going to go in. We're going to ask, can we vouch for 8 people without identification? Home of the camels. I am at home with the camels. Oh, camel. Hello, good day to you.
Good to you.
The last name is Shimizup. They're with me.
They're not voting?
They with the vouching. Yeah.
They're vouching for.
I vouch for them.
Oh. The same precinct.
Yes.
They're already registered, which it looks like you are. Then you can vouch for them as ID for them.
Oh, good. If they do not have their ID, is it okay? I vouch for them. How many people may I vouch for?
8.
8?
I thought it was 6. 8.
I can vouch for 8 people. Oh, good. We can go pick up Mohammed and Ranuzu in the car outside. Good. The question about the vouching, again, I can vouch for 8 people.
Yeah. In your precinct.
They live, yes, in my precinct. That is so wonderful.
Yes.
That is such a good American tradition. She says to me, I say, they do not need ID. She says, you are the ID.
He is the ID.
I am the ID. And no ID needed. I just vouch for them.
Well, you're the ID.
I am the ID. It's good. I'm going to go get the others and I'll come right back. It's in the car. Okay?
Oh, they're in the car?
Yes, ma'am. They come, but I did not know that it was 8.
All right.
So 8 people, no ID. We come right back. Thank you. I know the audience is probably thinking this is completely ridiculous, but what we found is that by dressing like this, it's actually less ridiculous to a lot of the local Minneapolis people here who are less suspicious of me dressed like this versus going in normal James O'Keefe clothes. You can't make this stuff up. James O'Keefe reporting from Minneapolis, Minnesota on primary day. Let's get out of here. This investigation is part of a series that will be continued by
All right,
other
let's pause it there. It looks like, so basically I see what they were doing. There was a message behind it, obviously, but I think anybody could have walked in there and asked the same questions. But there was a point that was driven, and this should anger you. This should anger anybody, any American, that you can go in, vouch for unregistered voters and allow them to vote. No ID. Does that not seem like a problem to you? This is actually pointing to our immigration problem. And you basically have to show that you just lived in this certain area and that's about it. And you can bring 8 unregistered voters. So it's another way of harvesting votes. That's all that is. If we don't fix the voting process in the United States, we're going to be in for a long road after the primaries. His primaries are now. The midterm elections are coming right up. November is like around the corner. I know it's August, but before you know it, blink twice, you're in November, and it's voting time. All right, next. Vice President Vance just sent a warning to every Republican on socialism. My warning to Republicans would be, if we don't get this right, don't blame young people for being sympathetic to socialism. We blame ourselves. Trump is the only answer. 100%. Play.
And my warning to my fellow Republicans, Will, would be, if we don't get this right, don't blame young people for being sympathetic to socialism. We've got to blame ourselves. And I think what is so unique and refreshing about Donald Trump's economic policies is that it's not the same old economic, ideas that you would have heard 30, 40 years ago. He's talking about rebuilding our industrial base, rebuilding the heartland, making our streets safer, making it possible for young people to afford to buy a home. This is how you stop socialism. You don't stop socialism by throwing slogans at people about the free market. As much as I love the free market, you stop socialism by making people's lives. And my warning.
Well, you stop it by going to the polls and voting your Christian values. 1 in 4 Christians don't go vote. They're registered to vote, but they don't vote. Imagine if every Christian in the United States voted, you'd get everybody, well, you would think, but all the right people in office, and we wouldn't have to deal with socialism. That's simple. Get out and vote. Next. Home and Fire is back at Mom Donnie. Hochul's plan to fight ICE overreach. I'm sick of the lying. Play.
Also today, Mayor Mamdani, Governor Hochul, Attorney General Tish James joining forces, vowing to fight what they call ICE overreach across New York. Hochul announcing over $7 million in state funding for legal services for unaccompanied migrant children, while defending a new state law that will restrict local police departments from working with immigration enforcement. Wonder what Tom Homan thinks of this. Anyway, here he is. Our borders are. Tom Homan is with us. Well, that's what they're pledging, Tom. I know people have tried to make these threats against you before. Hasn't exactly worked out in their favor, has it?
No, it hasn't. And what they did today was a blatant, disgusting lie. And I'm tired of it. Now, they want to spend millions of dollars of New York taxpayers' money on defending migrant children because they said we abandoned them. No, we didn't abandon them. We just changed contracts. We have a contract in place right now that defends the children at a better rate than was being done in the past. There hasn't been one child at a hearing that hasn't been represented by a lawyer under this new contract. So don't say we're abandoning these children. The only people that abandon children are you, because you say you care about the safety of the children, you care about the safety of the communities. Well, since I've been border czar, I wrote these numbers down. Since I've been border czar, New York State has denied 14,000 detainers, over 14,000 detainers. Who are they? 6,800 illegal aliens with assault convictions. 800 convictions for child crimes. Don't tell me you're trying to protect children. You're releasing predators to the street every day across that state. You got 770 convictions for rape or other sex crimes. I'm sick of the lying. I'm sick of the distortion of the facts. President Trump's done more to make New York City and New York State safer than they have. Where were they when 500,000 children were separated from their families, put in the hands of criminal cartels, and smuggled across the border? Some of those children died. They lost track of 300,000 of them. It was the Trump administration who has found 151,000 of these children that the Biden administration wasn't even looking for. Some of these children are victims of sex trafficking. Some were victims of forced labor. I don't want to hear you talk about us abandoning children. It's you. You've abandoned the taxpayers in New York. Your communities are less safe because of all these criminals you're releasing to the street every day. Children are less safe. President Trump is saving thousands of lives every month because we got a secure border. Fentanyl's not coming across to kill Americans at the rate it was. Sex trafficking, women and children have drastically declined. 4,000 aliens died making that journey under Biden. How many have died since? 0. President Trump's saving thousands of lives. That includes thousands of lives in New York. You're welcome. You're welcome that ICE is taking thousands of criminals off your street.
Wasn't it Governor Tim Walz? You had a guy convicted of raping and assaulting sexually a 10-year-old girl. Didn't he give this illegal immigrant a pardon? Is that the same state that Peggy Flanagan is in? Because Peggy Flanagan is running for the Senate. She won her race last night. Another DSA radical said during her victory speech last night, we need to rip ICE apart and stop them from terrorizing our communities. Is that a threat?
ICE, the ones that have arrested hundreds of thousands of criminal aliens and deporting them, making this country safer. ICE, the one that found 151,000 missing children. And we still got more to find. We won't stop. President Trump's committed to finding every one of them. But, you know, it's Madami and Hochul. I got two words for you. Lake and Riley. You talk to the Open Borders group. You talk to the groups who want to abolish ICE. Have you ever talked to an Angel mom and dad? I doubt it. Have you ever talked to Lake and Riley's parents? Because their child was buried. You know why? Because the murderer was arrested in New York City by NYPD. They didn't call ICE. They released him. Then he went to Georgia and violently killed this young lady. If you don't want to talk to your parents and listen to the tape, almost 19 minutes of this little girl fighting for every breath, fighting to live. She didn't want to die. Listen to that tape and tell me how you justify sanctuary cities that release criminals to the streets of New York every single day. You can't justify it. Governor Hochul can't say she cares about the safety of communities and lock us out of the jail. She just signed legislation locking us out of the jails. How do you square that, saying you want to enforce the laws against criminal aliens, but we're locking ICE out of the jail? It's disgusting what they're doing.
It really is. And
I'm upset. I'm upset. I'm just tired of it.
By the way, the Justice Department now is suing New York, Connecticut, and Vermont for giving in-state tuition to illegals. You're doing a great job, Tom Homan. Appreciate it. Setting the record straight for everybody.
Wow, Border Czar Tom Homan went off on New York's leadership, on Dami and Governor Hochul. They are absolutely atrocious for that state and for this country. And you heard it here with all the rage and anger and frustration out of the Border Czar, that the president and ICE have located 151,000 missing children. And the last administration lost 300,000. And we're committed to finding every lost child through open borders, human trafficking, and all the atrocities that happened through the last administration. I just see the anger in his eyes, the frustration, because he's literally making America safer. And you have the crazies on the left talking about abolish ICE, keep them out of the jail systems. Why would you want to protect fugitives or protect criminals that are in jail? Why would you want to protect them? Why wouldn't you want justice to be served? It makes you wonder what they're really there for when it comes to Mandami and people like Governor Hochul. They are actually disgusting, and that they do not belong in this country. All right, next. So Manhattan rents hit a new all-time high. Go ahead, play that. Oh. Is that Rachel? What's her name? Little Miss Rachel? This is who your kids were watching, by the way. I would totally boycott that show. Do not let your children watch Miss Rachel. That's what they think. That, you know, rent just went up again in Manhattan. Crimea River. Manhattan rents each reach all-time high of $6,655 a month amid Mom Donnie's rent freeze. How did that go for everybody? What a disaster that is. What a disaster. And you got people that want a democratic socialist in your neighborhood. Give me a break. Next. Election breaking. Michigan State Senate poll just dropped. Mike Rogers leading Abdul Rahman Mohammed El Said by 4 points. I just pray for Michigan State. You guys don't want this. Trust me on this. If you're in the area, please, please, please wake up. Wake up. You cannot elect these socialists in your neighborhoods. We need to get them all out. Next. You know, these are people that support terrorists of 9/11, by the way, and speak bad things against America. Come on, let's wake up. Trans athlete reveals new name and says they hate me because they ain't me. Roisha White says, it's a journey. I'm getting a lot of death threats, but I'm not going to let anyone disturb my peace. I just figured out my identity myself. Roll it.
How are you coping with the hate, the vitriol, the WNBA saying that this is bad faith, and they're questioning your gender journey? How are you doing personally?
Well, I mean, you know, they hate me because they ain't me, right? And you know, I get it. You know, it's a journey. Everybody's is, you know, transition is a journey. Mine has to take place in front of the public, so it's going to have a lot of scrutiny, and people are going to have their opinions, right? I'm getting a lot of death threats, people telling me to commit suicide, but I'm not going to let anybody disturb my peace and my energy and me becoming the beautiful black queen that I'm becoming right before America's eyes.
You mentioned dead naming. Is there a new name you've contemplated taking on that you would like to introduce to the world? We want to be maximally respectful here.
Yeah, it's Roisha, Roysha. Yeah, Roisha. And but
we're gonna change the
but
lower
I still,
for you really quick, and
yeah,
we
please,
didn't mean any disrespect.
I would appreciate that. No, you know what? I just figured out my identity myself. It's unfair to ask my friends like you guys on the Charlie Kirk show to get the name right every single time. But a lot of these people, these bad faith actors who say that I'm not a woman, this is all an act, they are dead naming me intentionally. They're dead naming me intentionally. It's not an honest mistake.
Okay, so you guys know this is a little satire, but it's so funny how this is turning on the WNBA. I just wonder what their move's going to be. They had emergency meetings the other day over this whole thing, and this is something where, again, they overplay their hands, they get focused on the wrong things, and destroy their own organizations. I'm so curious to see what happens. All right, next. Holy smokes, Gavin Newsom's high-speed railway is running out of money after spending $18 billion. Where did the money go, Gavin? The state has so far spent $18 billion on the project. Its first planned segment, Merced to Bakersfield, is expected to cost at least $36 billion. California, will you guys wake up? Do you realize what is happening in your own state? There's no more money left for this project, and they've already spent $18 billion of your tax dollars. They can't even keep water in the Palisades so that it doesn't burn down. But they want to spend $18 billion on this railway. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. Play it.
It's about to run out of money. The state has to, so far, spend $18 billion on the project. The first planned segment, they're about to lay track now. It's metered to Bakersfield. You know that quite well. At a cost of about $36 billion to run out of money by 2027. What's going on with this rail? Should they abandon this or fix this? When they do, if they do it, is it going to help?
Yeah.
They never should have done this. They told the voters it would only cost them $3 billion. This was decades ago. And now it's a train to nowhere. And it's costing hundreds of billions of dollars.
It's about to.
Imagine being sold on a train that's going to get you where you need to go. What it is if you live there, if you've ever been to California, traffic is ridiculous. It's horrible. It's nonstop, top to bottom. Doesn't matter what time of the day, what time at night. You need to plan hours ahead just to get to from one city to the next. So when you're pitched a great train idea that's going to get you from one end to the other in lightning speed, yeah, you're going to say, all right, let's do it. And they're like, it's going to cost you about $3 billion to do it. Oh, actually, it's 18 and we're running out of money. Now we're projecting $36 billion. California, if you guys don't wake up and get the right people in office, I fear for your state. Next. Secretary Hegseth, we do bad things to bad people. Awesome. Secretary Pete Hegseth unveils the new motto of the 8CCC while delivering a blunt warning to drug cartels and designated terrorist organizations operating across the Americas. He says, for too long, bad people did bad things to good people. Now, Hegseth says the mission is to empower Americans and U.S. partners with the capability to take the fight directly to those organizations. Roll it.
That's why today we launched the motto of the ACCC, which is we do bad things to bad people. Because for too long, bad people did bad things to good people inside the United States of America and across Central and South America. And we're going to empower great Americans and great partners to do really good stuff and be very capable about bringing violence against drug cartels and designated terrorist organizations, because we're dead serious about securing the homeland. We're dead serious about the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, which is not just talk. It's not just a policy extension of Teddy Roosevelt. It is a recognition that DTOs, foreign terrorist organizations, will not control our hemisphere with our partners, and we will not allow foreign malign influence to take over, say, key terrain like the Panama Canal. That's why.
That's incredible to see our military there in literal jungle for jungle warfare, because that just reminds me of good old-fashioned American dominance and military action. And I love to see this, whereas before it was very inclusive, very soft, very gender equal. None of that stuff. You got real men and strong women. Men are men and women are women standing for true Americans and defending the homeland. I absolutely love it. All right, next. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth touched down in Panama yesterday, visiting the Jungle Operations Training Course to meet with U.S. and Panamanian forces and observe jungle warfare training. For more updates, well, that's a promo. I almost read the promo. Play it. Super awesome. Love to see it. All right, next. And by the way, what's happening to the men anyways? It's like, it's got to be the food. It's got to be all the hormone disruptors. It's unbelievable. As a matter of fact, I heard a pastor say the other day, why don't you get some testosterone and just jab it in your leg already and become a man again? Because, man, some of these men and even some of these churches are so soft. Sean Foyt says, megachurch pastor who is now the Democratic nominee for Senate in Kansas rejects Jesus as the only way to God. When he literally says in the Bible, nobody gets to the Father through him. Reverend Adam Hamilton is a heretical liar, cozying up to false religions on our nation. Too many pastors are compromised. And here's your example. Roll it.
I've spent a lot of my life studying different world religions. And you find some get you a little closer. The image begins to become clear, like this picture on the screen. And then you study another one, you find it gets even clearer. You suddenly see that the image becomes even more in focus. And so for me, as I've studied different world religions, I sit in the chair and I'm looking through these different lenses. And when I finally got to that last one, when I finally got to Jesus and Christianity, it was like I could see clearly, the clearest that I had seen. And so I think about how Paul says, he talks about Jesus, he says, the Son is the image of the invisible God. Right, and Jesus elsewhere says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And so in Christianity, we believe that God actually came and walked among us in the flesh. He didn't give us a book. He came in person. And when we look at Jesus, we have the clearest picture we have of God. And so when I began to look through the lens of Jesus, my eyesight, spiritual eyesight, I felt became the most clear it could be, like you see in this image here. Now, the truth is that a Muslim would say through Islam, they see the most clearly, and a Hindu through Hinduism, and a Jew through Judaism. And so I recognize we all have a different lens that we're seeing through. And sometimes we think, depending on how we were raised and how we think, one lens is, clearly a better lens for me. And when it comes to other faiths, I believe as a Christian that they are going to, when they get to heaven, they're going to see Jesus. And they're going to say, it was you all along that I was searching for. But I don't fear that those folks will spend eternity in hell.
Well, I'm not really sure. I must have missed it because it didn't sound like he said Oh, sorry, I get it now. He was saying that these other religions are going to get to heaven and see Jesus and realize it was him. The point is this. He read the scriptures that points to Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the light. That's just the way it is. And I'd love for you guys to jump in the comments or even send us an email so we can talk to you more about that. All right, next. How many we got? 2 more? All right. What says Ted Cruz? James Talarico calls the Bible propaganda. Telling you guys, and this is in the Lone Star State. This is the most, we would think it's the most Republican state, but there's a lot of ground that we're losing when it comes to Texas if we're not careful. Texas Senate candidate James Talarico is facing backlash after describing the Bible as propaganda. Roll it.
And then the last one is maybe the most insidious. It was a new state curriculum that would teach Christian Bible stories as historical fact, as the only truth to our youngest students. And I mean kindergarten, first graders. These are kids who aren't able to think for themselves yet. They haven't formed their own worldviews. And to push propaganda, to push indoctrination on those youngest students is deeply immoral. And then the last one is
deeply immoral. What do you want them to learn? Transgender ideologies and mysteries and fictional stories and their so-called science books that tell kids they can be who they want to be and they don't have to tell their parents to show them how to do lewd acts on each other within their libraries. Is that what you want in your school libraries or your school curriculum? That's their job. Their goal is to remove God, prayer, scripture, good values and principles out of the school system. They're after our kids. What business does he do talking about kids in school when he's probably advocating for them to be allowed to mutilate their own bodies because they're confused instead of getting help? It's people like that that are running from office, and we got to be careful. America needs to wake up. One more. Is that it? All right. What happened to separation of church and state? Or does that only apply in the minds of leftists? Oh, that's right. The most important. Before we leave you, we got to show you what's happening in Texas. Thou shalt not kill on a poster in their classroom. Watch Texas public school students were bused to an Islamic center to experience Islam firsthand. The same people that say infidels need to be killed and murdered. Roll it.
It's always exciting to have the opportunity to speak to the general community about Islam. And this past week, right before Ramadan started, we were blessed to have a group of high school students from Kingwood High School and Atascocita High School come and visit the Centro Islamico. And this group was mixed with Muslims and people from other faiths. And their teachers wanted them to see a different side of the Muslims, the diversity within our community. And these are, brothers and sisters, of the greatest blessings that we can have.
Coming to a neighborhood near you guys. It's happening. It's happening quick. In Arizona, we've seen it for a long time now, and it's probably something you should pay attention to. America needs to wake up. The church needs to wake up. Of course, you have the right to worship and do what you want to do. But, you know, what happened, just like he said, what happened to the separation of church and state? That's not what Sharia is. Sharia is meant to become law, and that's what you should follow. These communities, watch, they're going to form communities, and they're going to make Sharia a law within their own communities. They're going to be like these cells in our states that are running their own governmental ordinances within their community. It's already happening. We need to be very careful. All right, everybody, I want to thank you for joining us on the Political Pulpit. It's a late one tonight. Tomorrow, hopefully a little bit earlier. Thank you for joining us. Hit that like and share button. Let your friends know what you're getting your news from. And thank you to all our partners. We will see you all next time. Thank you. Good night and God bless.